I'm good. I can't believe I'm here.
I'm delighted that you're here. 60 Minutes is in the news.
It is.
And
But they know what 60 Minutes is? Okay, good. Last person I
Do you
asked...
think this is an audience not from here? How long has 60 Minutes been on the air? And before you answer, let me make you more comfortable.
Go ahead. I remember it.
No, it's been on the air. How long has 60 Minutes been?
I don't know, 50-some years.
And it's been like a top 10, top 20 show, not on cable, on network.
No, in fact, in the 30 years I've been on the show,
yes,
and I had nothing specifically to do with this, but we were the #1 show in all of television.
In all of television?
Yes.
And now, so you're not over there anymore, and I'm not going to ask you to speak specifically for the official line of 60 Minutes, but I'm assuming you still have some kind of text chain.
I do.
With folks over there?
Yes.
Now, you may or may not know, as they may or may not know what 60 Minutes is. Paramount, which is the parent company for CBS at 60 Minutes,
yes,
and also for Comedy Central, recently made the unusual arrangement of settling a lawsuit that President Trump brought for, and I don't even really know what it was for. And they paid him...
It was making one edit.
They made an edit?
Yes.
You bastards. So they paid him $16 million. I would assume internally, that is devastating to the people who work in a place that pride themselves on contextual, good journalism.
No, devastating is a good word.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of fear over there.
Fear of
losing their job.
Right.
Fear of what's happening to the country. Fear of losing the First Amendment.
Right.
All of those things.
Why do you think they paid the $16 million?
Well, a couple of congressmen think that it was bribery.
They think it was a bribe from Paramount.
Yes, I should explain a little bit about what happened, okay?
Please.
I hope I wasn't going to have to do this.
Contextualize it. No.
60 Minutes did an interview with Kamala Harris.
Yes.
And during the interview...
She was the presidential candidate for the
for the Democratic Party.
That's right.
And she was asked a question about Netanyahu. And
great guy.
Why Netanyahu wasn't saying and doing what we wanted him to do. That's what was going on at the time.
Yes.
And she gave a minute answer.
Right.
And CBS took the first half of that answer and gave it to the morning show on Sunday, Face the Nation, to use as sort of a teaser to get people to watch it at night. And the second half of that soundbite went into the story. Now,
news organizations use every part of the candidate. They take the sound bites and they spread it over the network so that none of it goes to waste. There are hungry children in countries right now with no sound bites.
That's right.
And so they use those. So they aired the first part of her answer on the morning news.
That was the teaser, yes.
And then what did they do on the 60 Minutes?
They put that soundbite, the second half, in the 60 Minutes piece. They were different. And somebody noticed that in the Republican Party and decided...
Somebody?
Somebody, I don't know who.
Donald Trump?
I don't know, personally.
All he does is watch TV.
I know. But I think he watches Fox.
Nothing to get mad about there.
Actually, yeah. So anyway, I should point out that the soundbite and the exchange, neither the front half or the second half answered the question. But Trump thought the second half was better than the first half, and 60 Minutes was deliberately trying to make him lose the election by manipulating the news.
Sure. No, I have seen elections lost by that margin. It's just It was a devastating half of a soundbite. Is that standard operating procedure?
Absolutely.
Was anything done that you thought, in retrospect, that murkied her, like decontextualized her answer, tried to make her look better? Was it all fair game? They did air the first part that he thought made her look bad in the morning, and then they aired the second part in the evening, and then they made the whole thing available.
Yeah, most people couldn't tell the difference.
I'm going to show you something.
And yeah, okay, go right ahead.
And this is shock. You're going to be shocked by this.
Okay.
This is from, it's an organization called Fox News.
Okay.
Also, within...
I'm familiar with it, but rarely watch it.
Right. I have it on in my house all the time because I want to get
you in
cancer.
the local bar.
Right. Right, exactly. So this is an interview that it aired on Fox and Friends, which is a show that they do in the morning on a couch, but then they have a weekend show also named Fox and Friends, where the people who don't make it on the A-Team Fox and Friends get experience so that they can become cabinet members.
Yeah.
This is a question that one of their hosts asked a gentleman by the name of Donald Trump. I want you to watch. This is how it aired on their morning show. Please take a look.
Would you declassify the 9/11 files?
Yeah.
Would you declassify JFK files?
Yeah.
Would you,
I did a lot of it.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
Attorney General, what are you, I mean, we talked about.
So that's how it aired.
Yes.
Simple question. Would you declassify 9/11? Yes. Kennedy? Yes. Epstein? Yes. And then the Secretary of Defense jumped in.
Well, he did actually
and said,
jump.
Sir, please get me off this couch. I want to show you the larger context of that interview that aired later. Take a look.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
All right.
I guess I would. I think that less so because, you don't know. You don't want to affect people's lives if it's phony stuff in there because there's a lot of phony stuff with that whole world. But I think I would, or at least
Do you think that would restore trust?
Now, that seems up.
Yes. That would never happen on 60 Minutes.
No, but I would like to know why the 60 Minutes edit was worthy of a $16 million acquiescence of what is considered the Tiffany News gold standard network for Paramount of news, where very clearly Fox just did what seems to me to be a more egregious edit.
Yes.
So explain to me what was going through the mind of Paramount when they said, oh yeah, we screwed up, here's your money. Why not? Why didn't they fight
They
it?
never said we screwed up.
What did
They just paid the money.
So just flat out protection money.
Yeah, it was a shakedown. That's what I call it. I mean, some people call it extortion. That's a legal term. I'm not, but
So-
shakedown is like...
Obviously,
more
this is opinion. Is this purely Paramount buying their way? They are being sold right now.
Yes.
To a gentleman who is friends with the president.
Yes.
Larry Ellison and his son David Ellison
Yes.
of Skydance. Was this settlement just a payment so that this merger can go through and not be challenged by Trump's FCC?
Yes, I think that Trump, when I was trying to explain this at the beginning, I said it was like a little complicated.
Yeah.
There's Sherry Redstone, who is the head of Paramount.
She's the owner of
right,
Paramount.
she wants to...
Controlling shares.
Right, she wants to sell it.
Yes.
She has a couple of $1 billion.
They've got like an $8 billion deal on the table.
Yes, and $2 billion she's going to get. So she wanted the sale to go through. But Donald Trump thought, I'm going to settle a score here. He said that, very often about I'm going to go after my enemies. And he was upset with 60 Minutes, and he decided that he was going to sue for $16 million. And then
No, he decided to sue for $20 billion.
well, 60. I think it was millions at first. Then it went to billions.
Oh, I see.
And then it came back down to millions. He changes his mind a lot. As you pointed out in the tape intro. But anyway, he also, and which we haven't talked about, is that the Federal Communications Commission, which approves licenses and things like that,
That's
it is
right.
controlled by the president, and he has obviously somebody there who really likes him and will do whatever he says and is for his agenda. And all of a sudden, he's decided that he's not going to approve this deal.
The FCC chairman said that.
Yes.
That he wasn't going to approve it.
Well, he didn't say, no, I'm not going to approve it now. I think we ought to have some public hearings on it. I think we ought to, take a good look at the media and how it's performing and maybe doing something wrong.
So the implication is you don't get your $8 billion merger, you don't get your $2 billion payout unless you give me a tremendous amount of money. Now, that strikes me as, and I'm obviously not a lawyer, but I did watch Goodfellas. That sounds illegal.
Yes, it does. It's,
Okay.
I think it is illegal.
Well,
I think it's a
we're
shakedown
done here.
I think it's a shakedown.
It's a shakedown, and all, but now.
Now, not only the one, I want to make just one point.
Yes, please.
It's not just me or 60 Minutes or you that think that this was a shakedown. It's pretty much every reporter that's looked at it, at this case, and said, this is ridiculous. It's going to be thrown out of any court that it goes before, except maybe one
In Texas.
Yeah, in Amarillo.
And that's where they brought the suit.
And that's where they brought the suit.
And the suit
And that's why I'm
was-
afraid they'll send this show if we get sued. Because you said some really nasty things about him, much worse than Kamala Harris said.
Can I tell you something? And I'm gonna say this.
Okay.
And I mean this. I don't know, personally, I can't read. So this is all done phonetically. You may be saying to me I said some nasty things. Here's what it sounded like to me. What is it about this moment that makes his attacks on the press more dangerous than what has always been standard fare? Hey man, don't print that. Don't do that. What is it about this moment?
I think I think he likes to get even with his political enemies. He likes to do things that he feels will intimidate them to stop reporting bad things about him.
And
I
is
think
it
it's
that
as
he'll
simple
go
as that.
And that he'll go further than other people would.
Yeah, I guess so. Further, really, that it's not clear the Constitution allows.
I don't even know if that's in play anymore, because they'll find a judge in Texas who says it isn't. But so what does the news media do in this moment is this the last gasp of a dying industry, or is this the turning point for something that has become, let's face it, it's in many ways this moment is able to happen because the news media has had its trust eroded with the American people.
Yes.
So how does the news media respond then?
Well, I think that it's interesting, this lawsuit, the one thing that Trump didn't get, he didn't get an apology. And he had been pushing really hard. That's one of the reasons why it went from like $1 million or 10 million to 10 billion, because he was demanding an apology and wanted CBS to admit that it had made a mistake so he could use that against and erode the credibility of the program and the network. But he did not get it. And that's important. I mean, it cost, we haven't touched on this, but the executive producer of CBS News
Quit.
Was forced to quit.
And the head of CBS News in general quit.
Yes.
Because they wouldn't apologize.
Because they wouldn't apologize and because they thought they had lost control of they had lost their independence. And it was a very honorable thing to do.
How does the media, look, for Trump, this is great because now he's got himself a news network. He already announced that Ellison is going to do a great job at CBS, and Ellison is going to give him $16 million more in public airwaves commercials.
I have no proof of that. If that actually
he
happened,
said it.
I think he
Trump
may
said
have.
it.
That doesn't mean it's true.
But I think for news media, is this sort of the new world that we live in, that they will listen? The news media isn't perfect. I don't think anybody disputes that. I think there's been mistakes. CNN accused that kid years ago in a MAGA hat of like harassing a Native American, and that was wrong, and they had to pay. I think like they should be responsible and held. But this seems like a different thing where corporate pressure and political pressure have never been stronger to. It doesn't feel like scrutiny on news networks. It feels like fealty, that they are being held to a standard that that will never be satisfactory to Donald Trump. No one can ever kiss his ass enough. I mean, he goes after Fox sometimes, which is crazy.
Yes, the $16 million was tribute. That's how he looks at it.
And that will continue.
Tribute to the king.
Thank God I'm on basic cable, which I don't think he has. I think he only cares about network. Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate you coming on to discuss it in this moment.
I hope we didn't confuse the audience.
Can I tell you something? The audience is from Harvard. Like, I've been talking to people out there. They don't. I'm talking to these people. I'm gonna be completely honest. We didn't confuse them. We bored them. Former 60 Minutes correspondent Steve Kroft.